Have you ever noticed how painted images are all around us? That's where I come in. I'm a curator at an art gallery. I choose paintings for people to look at, and I'm on a mission to show you why looking is worth it, to show you why painting matters. It can challenge you, play with you, and even lift your soul. Come with me on this journey through art and you'll see the world through new eyes. There's a kind of painting that leaves a lot of people cold. Abstract paintings. Paintings that look like nothing. So is there anything really there? Look into abstract painting and you'll find thought, passion, playfulness, everything we want from art. But because there appears to be nothing in it, no people or places or things, it's hard art to get. So when you come across a painting that looks like nothing, what exactly are you supposed to see? Some people see red. Here's a copy of Auckland's daily newspaper, really upping the ante with their arts coverage and offering us not one, but two ha-ha artists must be stupid stories about animals that make art. A horse from Reno called Collar and Auckland's favourite elephants have been making abstract paintings. It's the latest version of a story that's been running on slow news days ever since abstract painting began. Burma, hello. And it taps into the fact that a lot of people see abstract painting as a scam, a hoax, that anyone could do it. Child, monkey, or elephant. Abstract art is often the subject of controversy. People are shocked when they hear about extortionate fees being paid for paintings that don't look like much of anything. They get especially outraged when it's government spending public money. Australians were spewing when their government bought Jackson Pollock's Blue Poles for over $1 million. The public in Canada were inflamed when the National Gallery in Ottawa splashed $1.8 million on Voice of Fire by Barnett Newman, a painting of 3 stripes.
Very good. Good girl.
Very nice. You know, Poppy's waving. Not bad at all. But is it good enough to break the $1 million mark? Oh, well, thank you, Burma. So what makes these paintings of nothing so valuable? Surely they must be about something. Yeah. This is the mission. This is the challenge. To kick a hole in that barricade and find our way through to some paintings of nothing. Because there's always something to say about them. But to knock down the barricade, we have to go back to the beginnings of abstract painting. And they're a lot further back than you might think. Abstract painting is hardly new. It's been around for almost 100 years. But to get to the event that makes it happen, we've got to go back even further, to 1839, when a painter called Paul Delaroche says, "From today, painting is dead." And the killer, he reckoned, was photography. Delaroche painted pictures of real-looking people and places, but suddenly his world was filled with new kinds of pictures, photographs, and just as suddenly, painters started to feel a little irrelevant. Why spend days capturing with a brush what a camera could catch in a flash? So the Impressionists started painting the world as they saw it, rather than recording every detail realistically. And they didn't hide the fact that a painting is made of paint, oozing with colour and rich with texture. Painting became a way to represent light and movement rather than a straight view of the world. And what starts rolling now, picking up speed as it hits the slopes of the 20th century, is one of the big adventures of modern art, the journey towards abstraction. Driving that journey were the Fauvist artists, who made paint a feast for the eyes. Henri Matisse painted a world so pumped with colour that the brushstrokes seem like they might float free. So by now, painting doesn't look like it's dead at all. It looks like it's coming to life. Then along came the Cubists. They downplayed colour but created a new way of seeing space, circling their subjects, slicing off views and piecing them back together, as if to say there's more to the world than what we see straight ahead. These artists aren't simply painting the way the world looks. They're pushing painting so it captures something more. Perception, emotion, the many-sidedness of life, and even those hard-to-picture things called ideas. But how do you paint something like an idea? Something that doesn't look like anything? In 1915, Russian artist Kazimir Malevich came up with a startling answer. At a time when revolution was brewing and the old order being swept away, he chose not to paint the struggle. His revolution was to break painting free from the world of objects. He represented feeling with a black square and the void beyond with a field of white. This was the beginning of abstract art. Malevich had opened a door and raised a question that has challenged painters ever since. Once you've stripped art back this far, where else is there to go? Abstract painting makes some people grumpy because it seems to shut out the world. And then comes the sneaking suspicion. Perhaps abstract painters paint this way because they can't paint. But here's a secret. Abstract painters can paint, and their art is often full of the world. The most famous abstract painter of the 20th century, Piet Mondrian, painted oceans, trees, and buildings. But then he chose to paint abstracts. And here's the twist. When he began painting those famous abstracts, he wasn't leaving the world behind, he was going closer. Mondrian starts out painting the natural world, right down to the last petal and leaf. Then he strips the leaves away to reveal an inner structure. Later, he paints the light and space that define the tree. And so he goes, always simplifying through to whites and blacks, reds and blues. This is not a painting of one tree, but of the balance he sees underlying all nature. And New Zealand abstract paintings are also inspired by the world. Milan Mirkosic's painting Buildings pulses with urban energy. The painting evokes the bustle of a city with blocks of colour that also take on a life of their own. Inspired by unfolding fern fronds and Maori art, Gordon Walters remakes the form on modern terms, using symmetry and shade to create a picture of balance. For these artists, going abstract is a way to bring the world closer without pinning it down. And it's a painter of that kind that we're about to visit, Geoffrey Thornley. For me, Thornley's paintings sum up the slow-moving pleasures of this seemingly simple kind of art. Geoff is an artist with a special talent for painting hints, layers and transparencies. His paintings are unrushed, subtle, but also demanding. They demand you ignore other distractions and look closely at surfaces that sometimes look plain white.
They're not white paintings, you know, they're not white paintings. They are paintings about the realness of light, and it's tangible and palatable and touchable.
Geoff has a great knack for letting light through. And in his book, Light is a Sign of Life. It's all serving an attempt to capture something that's glancing and fleeting. And
that's right.
As glancing and fleeting as the weather or light.
That's right, exactly.
From autumn ochres to fresh spring greens, Geoff's paintings evoke a sense of the natural world. It's as if he wants to catch the spirit of things as transient as wind blowing through leaves.
If I pull up the blinds and I look outside, and I often stand there and I look at the way all the leaves are moving in a different pattern. And they're all moving to this rhythm, and you say, it's so bloody harmonious. The life in the painting, that's so important.
He tries to capture this life with the brush. It's not a painting of how the world looks, but how it might feel on a good day.
This is a crucial painting. It's a painting that comes in the right kind of way. It came out of 2 sessions. It came easily. And it's called Seeing What You See.
Seeing What You See.
Yeah.
What I like about that title is that there's a you in it. It's not see what I see, what
Yeah.
the artist sees, it's see what you see. It's as if you are addressing the viewer.
Yes, it came from a phrase about nature as seeing what you believe. You know, and there's so many people see what they believe. They look at a painting and they've already got their idea. So I'm always about that correction, to get rid of those things, to take those things out of the equation so that you're always engaged with what it is there, the actual physical thing of what it is there.
People often look at abstract paintings with their minds already made up about whether they're going to like it or not, which makes it even harder for the artist to catch the viewer's eye and show them what's really there.
I have dedicated a life to trying to track certain kind of, if I fail or not, it's a risk, you know, that I take. And it's heightening up that risk into one moment, bang, to do it.
And with abstract painting,
The risk is very high.
if the painting fails, you can't say, well, at least I told a nice story about
That's
the horse
right.
running along the beach.
That's
or
right. Failure is very vulnerable. And I can lose one of these paintings. People don't quite understand how easily I lose them. If I'm painting this and I take it 1 inch too far, I lose it.
The layers and colours are so finely balanced in these paintings, one wrong brushstroke could ruin it. So it's the way the artist's hand is moved, the way the body of the artist is moved in front of the canvas. All these for you are the absolute meat of art.
These paintings are very vulnerable in one sense, that I've exposed how I make a line so that I find the other shapes. I've left the pencil lines there.
You're a bit like the magician who still wants the power of the illusion and yet also shows us how the trick is done. The underlayers and the making are all revealed. The
Yes,
construction
that's
is
what I
there.
was saying about the looking. See what you see. And that will lead you to the experience.
There's no doubt the longer you look, the more you get from these works. With their layers and veils, the paintings draw you near. Drifts of colour, falling strokes, there's this constant dance between surface and depth. And when you move in close, the paintings don't reveal a scene, but instead convey the rhythm and atmosphere of the natural world itself.
This one has a lot of this vertical falling stroke, which has got this contradictory horizontal, which stabilises it.
It's up close, it's making, it's paint, it's layers, it's what the bristles have done to the medium. And at a distance, it's atmosphere, it's breathing, it's something much harder to name and pin down. Jeff's paintings are like fields full of small events. Look away for a moment and they seem to change character, like landscapes under changing light. Jeff's feeling for the play of light outside is the key, for things like light rippling across water or clouds moving through the air. That to me is abstract painting at its best. It's actually painting at its best. The artist hasn't made an illustration of the world out there. He hasn't made an imitation of it. He's made something that itself seems to be breathing, responsive, alive, and full of light. Once a painter's job was to show how the world looked, but when painting gave that job to photography, it found freedom. Artists could present their impressions of the world and show it abstractly, make less do more. But in the end, how much lessness can painting take? What happens when it gives everything away, leaving only whiteness? Abstract art is so pared back it can be hard to get. Refine, reduce, subtract. That was the abstract painter's mission. And one of the big gripes people have with it is that it looks like it's rejecting everything we know and understand in the world. It looks like it's saying no. No to bodies, no to beauty, no to the richness of the world. But this art is actually a lot more generous than that. Take a closer look at recent abstract painting and you might be surprised by what you find. These paintings which seem the most simple, the most pared back, the most nothing of all, are in fact loaded with pieces of the material world. Louise Fong's painting Search might not look like much at a distance, but move in and her shades of grey morph into something fantastic. A futuristic starscape, bubbles of water or air, or an organic structure as seen through a microscope. And Julia Morrison loads alarmingly real substances onto not one, but 1,000 abstract paintings. These might look like just single colours on canvas, but they're loaded with real substances. Lead, ash, clay, excrement, blood, salts, silver and gold. A shimmering wall of human stuff. Including pieces of the real world in abstract painting is something Stephen Bambury's been doing since the 1990s. Here at the Jensen Gallery, we're standing in a space that used to be a printer's. So Heidelberg presses used to rumble away in here. It's a raw, working kind of space. And on the walls, Bambury's paintings seem to hover. Clear, clean, almost perfect shapes. Peer closer though, and there's an unexpected connection to the industrial past. Bambury, with this amazing sense of surface, brings these paintings back into the material world we all inhabit, with rust marks and rivulets and pocks and dents. Now, this is never more apparent than in the big work on the end wall, where Stephen has made paint from a very unusual substance, rusted iron filings. And in this work, it's as if the industrial past of this building is coming back up through the pure surface of the painting, corroding that pink surface. Something pure meets something rough, and the result is downright beautiful. And one painting floats apart from the rest, a work that looks back 100 years to abstract art's eureka moment. The shapes Stephen's used in these paintings echo some of the most famous in abstract art's history, especially those of the two big ends of abstract painting. In some of the works, there are echoes of Mondrian with his grids from the 1930s, and in this work, echoes of Malevich from even earlier in the 20th century with his wonderful hovering white squares and crosses. Malevich launched white painting with his legendary work White on White, and no sooner had he done so than many called it a dead end. What more could you do with white? But Malevich was using light to convey feelings like infinity and transcendence, and by doing so, he opened up a creative highway. And at Art Space, Auckland artist Gina Shin is hard at work, navigating that road. Gina's painting a mural, but not the kind that's going to shout for attention. It's the kind you have to slow down to see. She's covering this extensive wall space in, well, white paint. Actually, make that whites plural. Not one, but 5. The brushwork is seamless, the detail astounding, and the fine differences between the whites are crucial to creating not just the right look, but the right thought and emotion. Now, what is there to see here? A whole lot more than you might think. Come closer, and this seemingly flat wall very quietly and beautifully unfolds. Shapes open out of other shapes. Paint has been built up in such fine layers that ridges form, which are catching this light. The grades of white are so fine they're easy to miss. But then the light shifts and a seemingly blank wall discloses a cascade of shapes. But why these shapes and shades of white? I'm hoping the artist will be able to shed some light. Hi, Gina.
Justin.
How you doing? In Gina's painting, basic forms unfold and fan out in endlessly varied patterns, like crystals growing in open space. The shapes in your works are highly geometrical. You know, there's no real world here in the obvious sense. There's no still life objects, there's no people, there's no landscapes. Are they based on things that you see?
I'm always interested in the idea of nothingness, void, infinity.
But there's an even simpler interest underpinning these works. All of these angles which seem to repeat across your work, what do they derive from?
I use folded paper.
So these are all based on origami?
Yes, in a way they talks about how we are folded beings, folded in many different ways, and it's the complexity of human nature.
Folded, then unfolded and painted to draw attention to what lies inside. Gina seems to be exploring one of life's more profound mysteries by drawing attention to shades of grey, the infinite potential of just one form.
And started doing a series of paintings based on that shape, and I've been working with that for about 10 years now.
Working with this same shape for 10 years?
Yes, all the paintings that I've done is based on the same shape.
Yeah. But Gina's not just painting a shape. She wants to paint change, how one thing becomes another.
I was interested in the stages in between, I guess, process of becoming. Also, the light changes the work.
That certainly happens here, doesn't it? I mean, we've got clouds moving across up here. And, I mean, this shape was completely invisible to me before.
Yes.
It suddenly revealed itself. So light is crucial for you.
Light is the medium, yes. When the act of looking is what the work's about. It is a relationship between visible and invisible, seeing and not seeing.
Gina's paintings are mesmerising. Spending time with them leaves me feeling calm. I feel like all the world's secrets might quietly come to light if I look long enough.
I guess I was always interested in the possibilities within two-dimensional surface and creating something complex from something so simple.
Walk past in a hurry and this mural really will look like nothing. But take time and you start to see shades of grey, flickers and nuances, the way light shapes a space. The whole thing's like a cross between a geometry lesson, a cloudscape, a piece of painted origami, and it's also something more. What Gina Shin is saying, I think, is that the world always deserves close attention, even when, or especially when, there appears to be nothing there to see. Abstract paintings can be challenging, but look closely and you'll discover worlds packed with meaning. Paintings that are full of the world around us. In what looks like the narrowest, most stingy, meaningless corner of modern art, there's a rainbow of richness, colour and change. At the end of the day, we leave those white paintings, those paintings of nothing, and we come back to this rowdy, impure, thronging world. But we do so with our heads cleared and our eyes rinsed, and if we're lucky, with our spirits lightened. And that's not nothing.